The line rings. A dispatcher answers. On the other end is someone looking for help. But not every call has an explanation. These are the records from 911 calls that still haunt those who heard them. From the emergency archives, this is Midnight Dispatch. Incident number MD0214. Date October 8, 2003. Time received 2:14 a.m. Call classification: suspicious person, possible home intrusion. Dispatch log. At 2:14 a.m., dispatch received a 911 call from a female resident reporting an unidentified person standing in her backyard near the edge of the tree line. The caller stated the individual had remained motionless beneath a large oak tree for approximately 20 minutes and had not responded to verbal attempts or exterior lighting. The caller was instructed to remain inside the residence and secure all doors and windows while deputies were dispatched. Responding units arrived approximately 4 minutes later. Deputies made contact with a female occupant inside the residence who identified herself as the homeowner and confirmed she was the individual who placed the initial call. Officers conducted a search of the property. No individual was located outside the residence, and no signs of forced entry were observed. At 2:22 a.m., while deputies remained inside the home speaking with the homeowner, dispatch received a second 911 call from the same address. The caller was identified as the same female resident. The caller stated, "Please don't go inside. I'm still outside." Dispatch attempted to clarify the caller's location. The woman responded, "The person you found inside my house is not me." The call disconnected. Responding officer notes. Deputies immediately confirmed they were still inside the residence with the woman who had identified herself as the homeowner. The woman inside the residence continued to state she was the individual who made the original call and denied placing the second emergency call. A search of the surrounding property was conducted, including the backyard, tree line, and neighboring areas. No additional person was located. Phone records confirmed both emergency calls originated from the same device registered to the homeowner. No explanation was established regarding the source of the second call. As deputies departed the residence at approximately 2:41 a.m., one officer reported observing the homeowner standing motionless in the open doorway. The officer noted the woman did not wave, speak, or acknowledge the departing units. She remained completely still, watching the patrol vehicles leave the property. The officer later stated that when he looked back through his rearview mirror approximately 30 seconds later, the woman was still standing in the doorway. Incident number FL73462. Date March 25, 2018. Time received 2:59 a.m. Call classification: officer safety, unexplained radio transmission. Dispatch logged a status check to Unit 12 after a traffic stop. Unit 12 reported that the vehicle had been released and that he was returning to patrol. An unknown voice came across the channel and addressed Unit 12 by name, warning him not to look in his rearview mirror. Dispatch asked whether Unit 12 had transmitted. The officer denied it and asked who had spoken. Dispatch checked the radio traffic and confirmed that no other units were transmitting on the channel. Unit 12 requested backup. When dispatch asked for the location and reason for assistance, the officer paused before stating that someone was sitting in his back seat. Dispatch asked him to confirm whether he had a passenger. Unit 12 replied that he did not. The radio then went silent. Responding officer notes. Backup units arrived on scene approximately 1 minute and 48 seconds after the request. Officer 12's patrol vehicle was parked on the shoulder of the roadway with the engine running and emergency lights activated. The officer was standing outside the vehicle and refused to approach until additional units arrived. Upon inspection, officers confirmed the rear doors were locked. The back seat area was empty. No signs of forced entry were found. No footprints or evidence of another person approaching the vehicle were located. When asked to describe what he saw in the rearview mirror, Officer 12 stated, "I saw someone sitting behind me. I couldn't see their face. I only saw the outline." Officers later reviewed the vehicle camera footage. The recording showed Officer 12 alone in the vehicle at all times. The radio transmission containing the unknown voice was also not captured on the recording. Final disposition. The incident was documented as an unexplained radio transmission. The department determined there was no evidence of an active threat, but Officer 12 requested that the vehicle be taken out of service for inspection. The patrol radio was replaced the following day. No technical issues were found. Incident number 021. Date, August 7, 2009. Time received, 4:16 a.m. Call classification, suspicious person, vehicle emergency. Dispatch log. At 2:16 a.m., a 911 call was received from a male driver reporting that he believed someone was following him. The caller stated he was traveling alone at night when he observed a woman standing in the roadway. According to the report, the woman stepped off the road and disappeared into the tree line. The caller advised that after continuing to drive, he began seeing the same woman repeatedly at different mile markers along the route. The dispatcher asked the caller how many times he had seen the individual. The caller responded that he had seen her 4 times. Deputies were immediately dispatched to the area. The caller remained on the line and stated he had not turned around or stopped driving since first seeing the woman. During the call, the caller reported that the woman appeared to be getting closer. The dispatcher instructed the driver to keep his doors locked, continue traveling, and remain on the phone until deputies could reach him. Shortly afterward, the caller reported passing mile marker 85. No further communication was received. The dispatcher attempted to re-establish contact with the caller, but the line had disconnected. Responding officer notes. Deputies located the vehicle approximately 6 minutes after the call ended. The truck was found parked neatly on the shoulder of the roadway with the headlights still activated. The driver's phone was located inside the vehicle on the driver's seat. The driver's wallet and personal belongings remained inside the truck. The driver's side door was open. The male driver was found deceased inside the vehicle. Responding deputies noted the victim displayed signs consistent with cardiac arrest. No collision had occurred, and no mechanical issues were identified with the vehicle. A search of the surrounding area was conducted. Investigators found no footprints leading away from the roadway into the woods. However, one set of footprints was discovered near the vehicle. The footprints did not appear to belong to the driver. They began several yards away from the truck and continued directly toward the open driver's door. Final disposition. The death was ruled an unattended medical event pending investigation. No suspect was identified. No explanation was ever found for the woman described by the driver before his death. The final report contained one additional note from the responding deputy. The vehicle appeared to have been intentionally pulled over. There was no indication the driver was attempting to flee. It appeared as though he had stopped because something had finally caught up to him. Incident number T047. Date, October 18, 2023. Time received, 11:42 p.m. Call classification, suspicious person, possible residential intrusion. Dispatch log. At approximately 11:42 p.m., Emergency Communications received a 911 call from a 16-year-old female reporting that someone was inside her residence. The caller advised she was home alone. Her father was working an overnight shift, and her mother had left the previous morning to visit relatives several states away. The caller confirmed she had locked the residence earlier that evening and had not heard or seen anyone enter the home. Initially, the incident was treated as a possible burglary in progress. The caller stated she had been in her upstairs bedroom completing homework when she heard her mother call her name from the first floor. The voice sounded calm and familiar. "Emily?" A brief pause followed. "Honey, can you come down here?" The caller told dispatch that the voice sounded exactly like her mother. She reported hearing it several more times over the course of the next minute. According to the caller, there was nothing unusual about the voice. There was no distortion, no yelling, and no sign of distress. It sounded as though her mother had simply returned home unexpectedly. The caller said she stood up and nearly opened her bedroom door before her cell phone vibrated. The message was from her mother. Attached was a selfie taken moments earlier inside her grandmother's kitchen over 400 miles away. The timestamp on the image matched the moment the caller had heard her mother's voice downstairs. The caller immediately became confused and remained inside her room. Approximately 2 minutes later, she began hearing footsteps moving throughout the first floor of the residence. She described them as slow, deliberate, and unhurried. The footsteps would continue for several seconds before stopping completely, only to begin again somewhere else in the home. The caller believed whoever was downstairs was walking room to room, pausing inside each one as if searching the house. Several moments later, she heard the footsteps reach the staircase. Dispatch asked if she could see anyone. The caller replied that she was too afraid to leave her bedroom or look into the hallway. The footsteps continued climbing until they reached the second floor. The caller then locked her bedroom door and dialed 911. While remaining on the line with emergency communications, she whispered that the footsteps had stopped directly outside her bedroom. For approximately 30 seconds, neither the caller nor the dispatcher heard anything. Then 3 slow knocks echoed through the bedroom. The caller described them as soft, not aggressive, not frantic, just 3 measured taps against the door. Several more seconds of silence followed before the voice returned. This time it was immediately outside her bedroom. Dispatch reminded the caller several times that her mother was confirmed to be out of state and instructed her not to approach the bedroom door under any circumstances. The caller became increasingly distressed, repeatedly stating the voice was not merely similar to her mother's. It was identical. Every word, every inflection, even the way it pronounced her name. Approximately 1 minute later, a new sound was heard by both the caller and the dispatcher. The caller described it as fingernails lightly dragging across the painted surface of the bedroom door. The scratching began quietly before becoming louder and more deliberate. Long scraping sounds traveled from one side of the door to the other. The caller began crying and stated that whatever was outside sounded as though it was attempting to claw its way into the room. Dispatch advised responding deputies were only minutes away and instructed the caller to stay away from the door, remain quiet, and continue speaking if she could. Without warning, the scratching stopped. The residence became completely silent. Several seconds passed before one final statement was heard through the bedroom door. According to the caller, the voice spoke softly enough that she almost missed it. "You know I'm not your mother." No additional sounds were reported after that statement. Responding officer notes. Deputies arrived on scene less than 7 minutes after the initial 911 call. Officers conducted an immediate exterior check of the residence before making entry. Every exterior door was found locked. Every accessible window was secured. There were no signs of forced entry, no damaged locks, and no evidence that anyone had entered or exited the residence. A sweep of the property revealed no footprints in the damp ground surrounding the home, despite conditions that would have readily preserved them. Deputies announced themselves before reaching the second floor. The caller remained inside her bedroom with the door still locked from the inside. She was crying but responsive and unlocked the door only after officers identified themselves multiple times. She was found physically unharmed but visibly shaken. While speaking with the caller, deputies immediately noticed extensive damage to the exterior surface of the bedroom door. The painted finish had been stripped away by hundreds of long, parallel scratches extending from nearly floor level to well above shoulder height. Several grooves were carved deeply enough to expose bare wood beneath the paint. Officers ran their hands across the damaged surface and noted splintering consistent with repeated scraping by something sharp. The interior side of the bedroom door showed no damage whatsoever. Investigators photographed the scene and searched the residence from attic to crawlspace. No tools, sharp objects, or environmental hazards capable of producing the marks were located. No evidence suggested an animal had entered the home. Crime scene technicians attempted to recover fingerprints, fibers, or biological evidence from the damaged door. No usable fingerprints were found. No DNA was recovered. The remainder of the residence appeared completely undisturbed. Investigators later contacted the caller's mother, who confirmed she had never returned home that evening. Phone records, hotel receipts, GPS location history, and surveillance footage from the hotel all verified she had remained out of state throughout the entire incident. The following day, detectives canvassed neighboring homes and reviewed multiple residential security cameras covering every approach to the property. Between the time the 911 call was placed and deputies arrived, no person, vehicle, or animal was observed approaching or leaving the residence. Before clearing the scene, one deputy reportedly looked back toward the second-floor bedroom window. He noted the caller standing inside, watching officers prepare to leave. As his patrol vehicle pulled away, he glanced back one final time. The caller was no longer standing at the window. Instead, someone appeared to be standing just behind the curtain. The figure remained completely motionless. The deputy was unable to identify any facial features due to the darkness inside the room. When additional officers re-entered the residence seconds later, they found the caller downstairs with another deputy. No one else was inside the home. Final disposition. The incident was documented as an unfounded residential intrusion with unexplained property damage. No suspects were identified. No evidence established how the bedroom door sustained the damage or who or what the caller heard outside her room. The damaged bedroom door was later removed during renovations at the family's request. According to investigators, the family refused to keep it inside the house. The case remains open. No further incidents have been officially reported at the residence. Incident number 261047. Date: September 14, 2025. Time received: 10:48 p.m. Call classification: suspicious person. Dispatch log. Caller advised she was walking her dog through a residential neighborhood when she observed an unknown adult male standing beneath a streetlight at the end of the block. Caller described the subject as having small black beady eyes and a smile appearing crudely drawn across the face, similar to a child's drawing. Caller stated the subject remained completely motionless while maintaining eye contact. To avoid contact, the caller changed direction and turned onto a parallel street. Approximately 3 minutes later, caller advised the same subject was now standing at the next intersection ahead of her. Caller stated there was no reasonable way for the subject to have reached that location before her. Caller further advised her dog abruptly stopped walking, lowered its ears, tucked its tail, and refused to continue. When questioned by dispatch, caller confirmed the subject had made no verbal threats or movements toward her. Caller added the subject had not appeared to blink at any point during the encounter and continued smiling without expression. Units were dispatched to the location. Responding officer notes. Officers arrived approximately 5 minutes after the initial call. Area search yielded no suspicious persons matching the description. Caller and canine were escorted safely to the residence without further incident. While clearing the call, officers reviewed nearby residential doorbell camera footage from the location of the initial sighting. Video captured the caller stopping suddenly, looking toward the end of the street, and immediately changing direction. No second individual was visible on the recording at any time. Caller remained adamant that the subject had been present throughout the encounter. Final disposition. Unable to locate individual in question. Case closed. That's all we have for tonight's Midnight Dispatch. Whether it was a glitch in the system, a call that never should have come in, or something we still can't explain, some stories are never truly closed. Stay safe out there, keep your radios close, and we'll be listening when the next call comes through.